Welcome back. The Ministry of Health and Wellness received confirmation of 76 new cases of COVID-19 from the Ezra Long lab late Sunday. This from a batch of 309 samples which were tested for samples taken during the period the 18th of January to the 24th. The country's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar-George, has more.
All of the cases are St. Lucia nationals who range in age from 6 years to 85 years. They are from the Castries, Soufrière, Anse-Lorraine, Gros-Islet, Dennery, and Babonneau districts. All of these individuals were seen at community-based respiratory clinics where they were assessed and tested for COVID-19. As per protocol, they were placed in quarantine by healthcare practitioners while awaiting their COVID-19 test results. Arrangements have since been made to place these individuals into isolation. The contact tracing team is undertaking investigations to identify the contacts of these confirmed cases.
The Ministry of Health also recorded 37 recoveries on Sunday. The ministry also informed that there is a delay in the release of COVID-19 PCR test results.
The Ezra Long Laboratory is presently processing a backlog of samples received in the past week. This has led to the increased turnaround time in generating results over the last week. The public is asked to bear patience as we are in the process of disseminating a large number of results to the public. We ask that you remain in quarantine and isolation until you are informed by the team. The Ezra Long Lab is implementing new measures to improve on the wait in the coming week.
That was Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George. St. Lucia has confirmed the existence of the British variant of COVID-19 in country. On Sunday, the 24th of January 2021, the Ministry of Health and Wellness received confirmation from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, of 5 cases of the variant diagnosed in country. Nisha Charles tells us more.
On December 14, 2020, the United Kingdom Public Health Agency reported a new variant of SARS-CoV. The identified strain has been in circulation from September 20th, 2020 within the United Kingdom and has since been diagnosed across Europe. Closer to home, the virus has been detected in Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. Results from CARPHA on Sunday, January 24th revealed 5 cases of this new variant in country. The Chief Medical Officer says that 2 of the cases are British nationals who were diagnosed on December 17th and December 23rd. The other 3 cases are St. Lucia nationals from the Dennery, Micoud, and Babonneau districts, and they were all diagnosed in December of 2020. All 5 cases have since made a full recovery from the COVID-19 virus.
It is known and expected that all viruses constantly change over time. As such, it had been anticipated that this would also obtain with the COVID-19 virus. Studies conducted in the United Kingdom on this new variant of the virus suggest that it increases the rate at which the virus spread. This is estimated as increasing as much as up to 70%. The United Kingdom has noted increased levels of transmission and spread in the areas where the variant SARS-CoV-2 strain has been found. However, there is no evidence at this point of more severe cases associated with the new variant or it reducing the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine.
On December 21, the Caribbean Public Health Agency hosted an emergency meeting with PAHO, the WHO, the OACS, and the chief medical officers of the region to discuss the new risk by this new variant. It was further confirmed that the COVID-19 PCR testing being done in countries remains the gold standard to ensure accurate diagnosis, even with the mutations, and the vaccine approved by the Food and Drug Administration remains relevant.
The recommendations made are in relation to the strict adherence to the current regional and national guidelines on COVID-19 prevention and control. These include the limitations on social gatherings, the maintenance of physical distancing measures, hand hygiene and infection prevention and control measures, the mandatory use of face masks in public and strict adherence to protocols within the tourism sector, and the quarantine for all returning nationals. CARPHA has also requested that positive cases with high viral loads be sent to their labs for gene sequencing for surveillance of this new strain of the virus in our region. St. Lucia has complied with these recommendations.
The chief medical officer says this newest revelation further emphasizes the need for strict adherence to all protocols recommended so far and to ensure increased vigilance at all levels where risk has been identified. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
The St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association is reacting to news of the British variant of COVID-19 being diagnosed in country. President Dr. Merle Clark says the news does not come as a surprise to the association. She is convinced that now more than ever, St. Lucia is at a critical phase in its COVID-19 fight.
I think most people have heard it enough. We cannot let our guard down. There has to be, the policymakers have to be held to account and held to task, but we also as citizens have to do our part in curbing the spread of COVID-19, be it the UK variant or be it any variant of SARS-CoV-2. This weekend, up to this weekend, and obviously more public sensitization is important because up to this weekend there were parties which were being held. We did not think certainly that we would have to be telling St. Lucians that if a patient has tested positive for COVID-19 and that patient is in isolation, that they shouldn't be having visits. So these are the bits of information that is being received by the epidemiology department and by our members.
Dr. Clark says that while the virus has evolved, so too has the association's position on its handling.
Testing is a major issue, and we're not saying, we've had discussions with our pathologists that your strategy has to hinge only on testing. I think we want to disabuse solutions of that notion, but it is important that we have quicker turnaround of our results. Again, multiple results, reports of delays in results, and there are implications to those things. Huge backlogs because of the sheer number of cases being received, of the sheer number of swabs being received for testing. And those are the realities that we face, because for every patient, you have to look at the contacts, and with the unprecedented surge that we have, it's significant the number of contacts that are having to be looked at. So I think at this juncture, we do believe that rapid testing absolutely has a place. The WHO, PAHO, and all the reputable agencies are saying that it has a place.
She urges all citizens to play their part to help curb the spread of COVID-19. National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis has come down heavily on members of the public for circulating photos of the latest homicide victim. Francis says people need to use this energy to assist police in capturing the perpetrators rather than causing unnecessary grief to families.
The body of an unidentified female was found in Pigeon Point on Saturday 23rd. Though police have not yet positively identified the body, pictures of the slightly decomposed body as well as a woman who many believe may be the unidentified body have gone viral on many social media platforms. Minister with responsibility for national security, Herman Gill Francis, has berated members of the public who have taken up the task of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and identified the body.
I want to chastise the persons who have gone and taken the photograph of the lady and circulated on social media. This is atrocious. This is bad. You must put yourself in the shoes of the family of this young lady. How would you like to see your sister being portrayed the way it is there? We must not judge people, lest you be judged. And so it is very, very, very important that when we see these images coming to us, we do not forward it, we do not circulate it, we cut it off, and we tell the persons who are sending it to us, do not do that.
He explained that the government is looking into measures that will help the police deal with issues of that nature.
On our presentation to the Prime Minister, that we did ask for monies for cybersecurity. I'm not too sure how much money he's going to give, whether he can give it, taking into consideration the fiscal space that we have. But this is important, this is where we have to go. This is the new trend of the criminals. Okay, that is how they're able to go out there and get information for persons. The criminals are using all sophistication necessary for them to be able to be successful. So before we could track the phones, now they have recognized that, so they're now going high tech and they're using other phones that you can't check, you can't track. And so we have to get the sophistication, we have to get the equipment for us to be able to do these other things.
Francis says, as much as it is good that people get really passionate when situations like this arise and want the news in the public domain, it is important to remember that cases like these are very sensitive.
There are other things where you can take the photographs They can take the videos to assist the police in solving crime. We don't do it. We do not do it. And so we use the bad part of the social media instead of doing what is necessary. So again, this one has really touched me, and I do hope that we can get closure to this matter as quickly as possible.
Francis has also reminded the public that they should also never forget such violent incidents, and they should make it their duty to not only hold the police accountable, but to assist in capturing the perpetrators of such heinous crimes. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Meanwhile, a local psychiatrist is breaking down the behavior behind the trend of disseminating photos and videos of graphic images of violent crimes, suicides, and road accidents.
The discovery of a female body in the north of the island over the weekend has led to the trend of disseminating graphic images of dead or dying people to once again rear its ugly head. On Monday, local psychiatrist Dr. Julius Gilliard said whilst this is not an issue isolated to St. Lucia, it is one that exposes one's deep-rooted desire to be noticed. Dr. Gilliard said in St. Lucia, there is still stigma surrounding mental illness, and so with many people walking around with undiagnosed mental illnesses, the fame that they seek in being the first to disseminate such images is a way of seeking validation and inclusion.
Those persons always want to be the first, so I will be the first to put out the news of this happening, and I think they call it fear of missing out or something like that. So those persons always want to be in the limelight, moment of fame, that kind of thing. And so it's a mindless act. If persons learn to cultivate mindfulness, they will realize that those things do affect not just the person, the victim of whatever crime it was, or whatever incident it was, because it happens at accident scenes as well. So those images affect other persons. And so if we are mindful of all of that, if we on a daily basis practice compassion, not just of self, but for other persons, then we will realize that those things affect the wider community. There are persons who can be triggered by those sins.
Dr. Gilliard said there is also the issue of a lack of compassion in those sharing the images.
A lot of persons, they have difficulty putting themselves in other persons' shoes. So we have a deficit of compassion, you could say. And that, I believe, is the reason for a lot of the ills in society. Persons have that difficulty in that they don't know what it feels like to be in the other person's shoes and suffering what they went through.
Dr. Gilliard said it is not too late to reintroduce mindfulness into society, even with the advancement of technology.
I think that we en route to that, but it is a long process because you don't have too many persons who are buying into it as yet. I see a lot of persons who are looking for that kind of avenue, persons who are searching for better meaning in their lives, who are searching for, higher purposes and so on, not just living from day to day and from hand to mouth or from one activity to the next. But it's a long process. We're still at the beginning of that process, and especially here in St. Lucia, where mental health is so poorly advanced, poorly developed, that we're still at the beginning of that process. So we still have a very long way to go.
Dr. Gilliard asked the public to consider the people who have experienced these levels of trauma and to spare them from spiraling into further trauma. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come. Can Philip J. Pierre lead the SLP to victory at the polls? Barbados-based political analyst Peter Wickham weighs in. And Senator Herman Gill Francis, fresh off his runoff victory, says he's ready to give his all to the people of Beaufort South.